Is this series over? After Game 3, Edwards told his teammates, I still don't feel like they can beat us. We haven't all been clicking at one time, one game. We're here now, fellas. What are we going to do? I just think that's the flaw of it. Like, you could say, well, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to start making some shots, but I mean, Naz Reid went so fully off that, you really can't count on all of your players clicking at the same time. That's, kind of why they need Edwards to be a little bit more consistent. To me, I don't think it's really anybody's fault over there. I just think they're at least one player away. You look at Minnesota right now, it further puts an emphasis on the need to figure out any way that you can to keep Derrick Jones Jr., and it puts a big spotlight on how important P.J. Washington has been for this basketball team. Those are the kinds of guys Minnesota needs when they get back here so Edwards can rest.
Yeah, I do think that is definitely a part of it. But, I mean, you can't be one of these supermax, superstar players and just consistently not show up for your team. Yeah. Like Karl-Anthony Towns, come on. Like, you're being called out for a reason. You haven't had a single promising game throughout the entire series. And for as good as P.J. Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. are, if Kyrie and Luka were essing the bed, it wouldn't really matter. And that's what's happening with your two supposed-to-be star players not coming anywhere close to the guy that we've seen them be at times.
It might just be that, you have guys that are cut from that championship cloth in Kyrie and Luka, obviously, earlier in his professional career in Europe. He's, highly accomplished. And this is just the point where the guys like a Dominique Wilkins or a Clyde Drexler just come up a little bit short because they're on the court with Jordan or they're on the court with Kobe.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. They're running into an unbelievable duo right now and a team that is just hitting all the right notes. And it's amazing what the Mavericks are able to do. And I don't even know if you were getting a much better version of the two of those guys. Would they be, maybe it'd be 2-1 right now instead of 3-0? But you are seeing, hey, these are professional dominators who understand the moment and rise to the occasion. More veteran, of course, at least when it comes to Luka and Kyrie. But Karl-Anthony Towns has been around the block. I know they haven't done much winning, and he hasn't found himself in the conference finals throughout his career, but it's not like he's 22 years old like Anthony Edwards. You can be like, okay, this is your first time. Jordan had this. A lot of these people have this, and then you come back better because, hey, I'm 22 years old. Karl-Anthony Towns, like, bro, you've been in the league for a long time. You're going into what, like year 9,
right?
10?
I think you're starting to see that he's not that dude that can be a true number 2 next to Anthony Edwards. Like, they've got, to your point, they're still a piece away. I think the Mavericks did an excellent job. Credit to Nico and the front office. When you make the trade for Gafford and P.J. Washington, this roster's now filled out because you got Derek Lively as a rookie center who's out there doing what he was able to do. And then now, unfortunately, tonight it'll be much tougher without him. We'll see how Maxey is and how many minutes he's able to play and what he gives you. But I think defensively, the Mavs have caused a lot of problems, but Anthony Edwards is also a shell of what he was in the previous series. That took a lot out of him against the Nuggets. And now Wolves fans are kind of feeling about their superstar with where we were kind of feeling about Luka about halfway through that Oklahoma City Thunder series. Like, man, is our guy going to go okay? Does he have enough left in the tank to be able to will you to a series win? Anthony Edwards is proving he does not right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the main issues in his game is just the passing accuracy, and it's crazy that he can be such a phenomenal shooter, throwing that ball through the rim. And maybe it comes with experience. Maybe he's not used to, having that amount of pressure on him. But the difference in all of this is, Luka being so tall and being able to hit the threes, but also look over everybody and hit precisely in the corner, right in that shooter's pocket, ready to go. Yeah. Edwards kicks it. It's like, dude has to reach 2 feet to his left, bring it back over. By that time, the defense has closed so much that now it's a contested 3 instead of a wide open 3. And, I don't know. Maybe Edwards is so young. Maybe he can get to that level. But I think there's a clear difference between your shooting superstars and the guys that are the triple-double threats. And if you have one at that height that is, able to hit passes that break the defense's back so consistently, he's asking questions of the defense now that they don't have any answers for. They've tried both strategies, and both are equally inept. And as Bobby Carella, who joined us last hour, said, he prefers that Luka is double-teamed. Yeah. It's
Go
a
ahead,
double team.
Do the blitz.
Are we going to the corner, or are we going to Gafford and Lively at the free throw line, who are now playing 4-on-3, and there's somebody open? It's you or it's one of your teammates. The amount of lobs that we've had from the so-called best defensive team in the league, You really have to be highly cynical about what that stat says.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
a team
does
with size, right? Like that should be something they can guard against. But it's been Lob City all game long for the Mavericks here. I mean, they're getting it at will. It's easy. It's pick your poison. Minnesota has no answer right now.
More Mav stuff. Valdi is back tonight, and Langford, right? Evan Carter's on the IL.
Yes.
Great story in The Athletic about Kyrie and his basketball renaissance from over the weekend. Irving's leadership in particular is evident and profound, says the writer. He hasn't been this far since 2017 when the Mavs fell to Golden State in the finals, and his trade request in the subsequent July led him to Boston. He seemed to be chasing the chance to be a franchise centerpiece back then, but that ill-fated pursuit that took him to Brooklyn in 19 is clearly behind him. This Dallas experience is about being a high-impact partner to Doncic and every other player on the roster more than anything else. And the results speak for themselves. The reason it's so tough to pair up these superstars is ego. And we're teaming up. I want to be the guy Shaq and Kobe, split them apart. And I don't know if we've taken enough time to appreciate that part of what Kyrie Irving is doing by saying, oh, no. I don't need to try to lead a team, because that's what led him astray. The story goes that at 24 years old, Kyrie says, you feel like you're a leader, but you don't know what it really takes to run an organization or to really touch guys on and off the court where you give them a lot of confidence and you exude that belief in them. So I've just been learning, reading a lot, failing a lot, and also dealing with the heavy criticism while also being able to be back on this stage and not take it for granted this time. I mean, he demanded a trade out of Cleveland after being in the finals. He was like, I got to get out of here. That's young Kyrie saying, I want to be out of LeBron's shadow. People are talking about him like he's my older brother. That drove him crazy. So he goes to Boston, he goes to Brooklyn. And now that he's here, I mean, that's Magic Johnson type of leadership traits, giving your role players the confidence and belief in themselves. You can see how Kyrie not only talks to his teammates, but others around the league after the games, giving them words of encouragement, giving them love. It's not the package that the media expected, or maybe that Kyrie has portrayed up till this point in his career, but I can't think of a better leader. No. This guy very consciously trying to craft the right message intentionally on and off the court to give his teammates more belief in themselves. That's a coach's job, and I'm sure Jason Kidd does part of that, but to have another influence like that on the court, I don't think we can minimize that at all. The story goes on to say that while Luka is the team leader, or the leading scorer, it's Kyrie that's the actual team leader.
Yeah, he's the veteran dude who's kind of been there, done that. He's got an incredible perspective, and it's a great emotional balance too, because he's kind of that calm, woo-saw force to Luka's wearing the emotions on his sleeve kind of deal. It's kind of the yin and the yang with that factor there. And you can see that Kyrie is, we played the sound on Friday when you guys were out, where Windhorst is talking about different outings that Kyrie put together for the team, bringing them over to his house. The entire team's over there, their families included. And Shams was talking about a couple of different moments throughout the season where things clicked between Kyrie and Luka in particular, and then just Kyrie with the whole team. So it's just kind of a completely different dude at this point that nobody really expected at all, and he's just playing great too. It's not just, hey, you got Markieff Morris at the end of the bench and he's a good leader, but he provides actually nothing tangible. It's like you have on the court a calming coach kind of presence who's embracing the leadership role, ready to be the 1A when called upon, but sitting there as the 1B, having no issue with it, and being a superstar in that role. I mean, it's been wonderful. And watching him play, dude, where it's been a
different appreciation for his game, man.
Just he's an artist out there, man. It's beautiful.
The way he hangs and contorts his body, the vision, the passing. And honestly, Luka, brilliant. And I think a lot of times when we watch Luka on a night-in, night-out basis, so the constant whining and complaining to the refs and everything, we're going to call him out. It's going to annoy us. But the fact that Luka is maybe the greatest player of his generation, I don't know that we're going to get this version of Luka without having Kyrie here. I think Kyrie has helped some maturity and unlocked a little bit of a different beast inside of Luka as well. We know, obviously, he's also a basketball savant mentally, but I think Kyrie has also helped harness a little bit of some extra level of play that we've seen from Luka.
Yeah, we would not. I don't think we'd be getting this level of Luka at this point in his career. You know, they talk about it in the article how in the last series, you know, and you heard Luka talking about that after the games. I needed to be reminded this. I enjoy playing basketball, and that's Kyrie's voice in his ear that has coached him out of being distracted and unfocused into this guy. And you know, sometimes I think Luka would benefit from a tougher voice from the coaching staff, but that's sensitive for any organization dealing with your superstar.
Sure.
You know, are you going to, you know, try to press for changes you want so hard and end up alienating him? And now he doesn't want to talk to you like he hasn't wanted to talk to previous coaches or members of the organization in prominent roles, hated Vegas Bob, didn't have the best relationship with Mark Cuban or Rick Carlisle. So you're kind of like walking on eggshells. Well, here comes Kyrie as the surgeon to finesse it, befriend him, and you know, in a more nuanced way, have him see the benefits of that. And that's how real change happens.
You know, what's interesting to me is watching this, and we keep talking about Kyrie and all the great things he has done. The Oklahoma City really played well against him defensively. You know, he never got off to really good starts, and Minnesota hasn't figured out how to play him defensively. And I think that's, you know, when you look at, there were some positive games against the Clippers. Oklahoma City kind of held him in check. If you really want to go through and you look at you break down the metrics of it all, you know, it's like, well, how does Kyrie get going? They got to get him going. You know, yeah, they won the series, but the difference in this one is Minnesota, for all the great things that they do on defense, they haven't played well against him at all, you know, and they haven't slowed him down. No. The fact that him and Luka are able to get, you know, that 3 games where they've had 30 points together.
Yeah.
You know, Oklahoma City made this a lot tougher on the Mavericks.
They had Dort and they had Luka hurt.
Matchups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the
with
thing.
Anthony Edwards struggling.
That's why to me, Minnesota, I feel, well, they're 3-0. They're down 3-0. They're likely dead here. But they have not played well defensively against Kyrie, and they haven't made him have to struggle in games like Oklahoma City did.
Yeah, they haven't made him uncomfortable at all.
We've done shows where, like, man, they got to find a way to get Kyrie going. It's kind of like we were talking about Brandon Cooks. The Cowboys got to find a way to get Brandon Cooks going in these games, you know. And I just, if you want to point to something, the real big difference, Minnesota has not done a good job of playing against Kyrie Irving in this game.
No, not at all.
In this series. And maybe tonight they find it, but for the first 3 games, they sure the hell haven't.
No.
With how thoroughly they beat the Thunder, you know, and now the T-Wolves, some incredible teams. How confident are you guys if it is Boston, you know, if you do get to the final?
Weirdly confident, because I think you've seen in those type of moments, you know, Tatum and Brown can lay an egg. And I don't think they're on the same level. And I don't want to say that Tatum's overrated, but I think the NBA has wanted to kind of make him the next face of the league. He's not there, in my opinion. I think we can name 5 players that are better than Jason Tatum. I think Luka is one of those guys. And I think Kyrie does have the skins of the wall on the wall that those guys are trying to pursue. So to me, and they haven't been battle tested in the postseason. Like, yeah, they're pulling out some tough games against Indiana, some tight fourth quarters, but Indiana also kind of peed down their own leg in those moments as well. It wasn't necessarily Boston grabbing the bull by the horns, and like we saw with Luka shooting that 3 right over Rudy Gobert, putting him on ice skates. So, yeah, I mean, they're deep. Drew Holiday, that's a guy that can cause Kyrie some issues, right, defensively, what Drew Holiday can do.
Derek White's impressive defensively for sure.
They're a deep team. They're very, very talented. I think that series goes at least 6 games. But I am confident the Mavericks can beat Boston.
Boston has played against teams in this playoff that have had to deal with injuries throughout. Miami, Cleveland, you know, they dealt with the Pacers. They might catch another break. We don't know how bad Lively really is.
Yeah.
They might. Now, maybe this time off will help Lively. You know, nobody knows how bad. And we're talking about probably. We don't know. But if Lively doesn't play, that's big. And that means that's
a different story.
Means that the Celtics, once again in a playoff series, caught a team at not their absolute best. And they're a good team. They won a ton of game. Give credit. Give Danny Ainge and when he was there and now Brad Stevens. Give all those guys a lot of credit for putting together this team the way they have. But they have been very fortunate to catch teams, and we always talk about this as fans. Hey, I mean, we're cool if the other team doesn't have all their good players. Whatever path to the championship, it doesn't matter. I mean, but they've caught teams not at their absolute best health-wise, and I worry until we hear something confirmed about Lively that the same thing might happen here with the Mavs.
It's a fair concern. If Derek Lively is not good to go, the Mavericks will not win that series. But assuming that he is, I think they absolutely could beat the Celtics.